Will getting a raise make your financial situation worse? Let me tell you a story about how this happened to me. I was 21, 22 years old, had my first like real job that had like a salary, or it was hourly, but it had like benefits, and it was a full company. It wasn't considered like a part-time, like I don't know what I'm going to do type of job. It was like a job. It was like, okay, for real, this is a real job. So I, out of college, I served tables, I did all these things, even post college, until I got this job. So 21, 22 years old, I'm great, getting the $20 an hour at that time back in the, early 2000s. It was, great. I had a wonderful company. I really believed in what they were doing. It was a great culture. I enjoyed the work that I was doing. It was a lot of fun. And then they gave me a raise with extra hours. So I went from like a part-time to a full-time employee, and they gave me a raise. And this was before I knew how to manage money really well. I mean, I know how to save money, but I was managing money not that great. And I did some napkin math, in my head of like, well, here's how much, these extra hours would benefit me. And so I determined it would probably be more like a $300 a month increase in my pay from what I was working to what I was going to be working for at that point. And so it was like, oh, this is awesome. As a 21-year-old, you're thinking, great, I get an extra $300 a month. I can do anything I want, right? I had my little rental place that I was living at with a roommate, and I bought my food and paid all my bills, and we're paying off my student loans and the whole deal. So with this $300 a month increase, guess what I did? I said, okay, good. I'm going to go get a car. I had a pickup truck through college, and it was old, and I wanted to get a different vehicle. So I got a vehicle. It was a sports car, and it was 320 some odd dollar payment for a loan. And I got a raise, and I justified the car payment because of the raise. But the payment was more than the raise got me. So that raise worsened my financial position because I got a $300 raise, and I added $320 plus of expenses on top of all the other things, right? Increased insurance and more gas because it was a sports car, and all the bells and whistles that I needed to put into it. And, I put a new stereo into it, and I got seat covers, and you do all those things, especially in your 20s when you get a 20-year-old guy getting a sports car. So is your raise, or is a raise, a good thing for you? Well, I can tell you from my experience, if you don't have a plan and you don't have a system in place for managing your money, a raise isn't going to do you any good. And in fact, a raise can often lead to a bad decision. Just like I did, is you actually increased your payments, your expenses going out more so than the raise that was coming in. And so that's a real tricky place that a lot of people get into. They think, oh, I'm getting more money. And then right, the lifestyle creep, what we call it officially, right, that lifestyle creep is you're increasing your lifestyle based on the income that you're coming in. And every time you get a windfall, or anytime you get a raise, and then you're like, okay, good, I'm just going to increase my lifestyle. And we keep doing that, even more so, and justifying even more expenses going out. That's how we get into this vicious cycle of debt, and how we get into this cycle of constantly living paycheck to paycheck. It's not fun. So I would say you have to have a system, and you have to have some kind of money management operation in place in order to make sure that that raise turns into a good thing rather than a bad thing. So just because you're getting more money in doesn't mean that you're winning with money. It doesn't mean that you're more successful and all that. Like, you make sure that you have a system in place, and part of that is budgeting, part of that is money management, part of that is paying attention, part of that is having discipline in order to know, am I using this money wisely, or am I just frittering it away? And in fact, more so, because I'm allowing that lifestyle creep to come in, and you're going to get this raise, but then your lifestyle just completely blows that plus more out of the water, and then you end up in a worse position. So make sure you have your system in place first, and then you can go ahead and increase your lifestyle as it's appropriate, because you know exactly where your money is going. You have an idea of what's coming in and what's going out, and you're not going to exceed that raise that comes in. So learn from my mistake and make sure you have that system in place before you get that raise and you end up spending even more money. All right, so make sure that raise is a positive rather than a negative. All right, thanks, friends.